As a youth programming director, I place a lot of importance on inviting youth of our community and welcoming them into our doors and giving accessibility to the type of work we do at BANDALOOP, providing classes, experiences, and opportunities for kids, for youths, for teens, and young professionals, of which you'll see today.
It's very multifaceted. Part of it is being in the classroom teaching. We have education programming for youth as young as 8, 9, all the way up until adults. And I think the oldest person we ever had in a harness was in their 80s. So it's a very wide range of bodies and people that we teach. Really at the core of it, to me, it is like, how do I get as many people up in the air to experience vertical joy safely and in a way that lets them feel successful and supported.
So the choreography of BANDALOOP is a big, messy collaboration. It's like we start making movement. The dancers themselves are choreographers. I'm a choreographer, and we all come together and we all start making movement in the studio, on the wall. My job as an artistic director is to create a container for creativity to happen, and then to sort of organize and edit and finesse all that material together into one cohesive piece. But everybody that shows up, everybody that's part of the process is a creative, is an artist, is bringing their own sense of adventure and their own sense of grace.
We do a lot of creating and playing on the wall. Sometimes we'll try and build on the ground, but usually what we do is so specific to what the building is like, or just being in the harness that we'll build stuff on the ground and then we'll try and put it in the air, and it's like, it works and it doesn't. So as much as we can, my preference is to build in the air, and a lot of that is just explorative play.
The dancers have this real strong sense of having choreography, but then letting it go or changing it right away. So the choreography is alive in that way. The choreography meets the architecture. And when the choreography meets the architecture, the opportunities of ledges, the constraints of signage, of windows, all of those things push the choreography in the adaptation process. And we make movement in response to some of the content, the thematic content of the piece, in this case, which is the spiritual, ecological, and social impacts of textiles.
The piece that we're presenting in Atlanta is called Field. It's part of the series about environmental destruction, specifically through the lens of the textile industry and the fast fashion industry, and how that's affecting not only our planet, but the clothes we wear, how we move through the world. And one of the pieces that's part of that is called Loom, which is the one that I'm in.
So Loom is a large umbrella project that contains 3 distinct pieces, and Field is the centerpiece of Loom. Field is about the spiritual, the ecological, and the social impacts of textiles.
Who holds your body close, not with sinew or touch, but with cloth? It's also about ancestry. It's also about the ancestral memory within cloth that all of us have, you know, even with the current state of the industry right now. So a lot of conversations with Melecio about his research into environmental destruction, but also into textiles and weaving, and into his relationship to weaving and cloth.
My grandmother was imprisoned and eventually executed by the Japanese in the Philippines in World War II. Leading to her execution, she would crochet fabric in that concentration camp. And my mom and her sisters would visit her through the fence, and she'd be crocheting these elaborate bedspreads. And because she couldn't get more cotton, more string to continue that, she would unravel it and start again, all the way until she died. And in that way, the act of making fabric wasn't about making a product, but it was actually about the act of making. as something that can help us cope, something that can bring us some kind of respite from the difficulty of life.
Whose hands meet yours through cotton and wool? Who lives inside the threads that swaddle your skin? Grandmothers once wove prayers and praises, spells of protection bound with dye.
So BANDALOOP's work has always aligned itself with opportunity to elevate message. How do we use BANDALOOP as a dance and a ritual to deliver the message of, hey now, social justice, hey now, human rights, hey now, climate chaos, what can we do? Our work with Loom, and here in Atlanta with Fields, directly speaks to the history of our textiles that we wear on our backs every single day. Our relationship with where our resources come from, whether they be fabric or fuel. Recognition and consciousness raising opportunities around our resources and our care of the human resource that goes into providing us with resources is not something BANDALOOP can take on like a grassroots organizer. But we can open some doors. We can use art to lever open our practices. We model as a company that travels the world in what humble way we can, what types of fabrics we use in a show, and open the door to opportunity and questions, and align ourselves with people who can answer those questions in sustainable manners.
And for this work especially, a lot of this whole show is about fiber and textiles and the fast fashion industry, as well as like the ancestral memories that fabric holds. And like we all have a piece of clothing that has meaning to it, or we have a closet full of clothes that have meaning and stories, and maybe they were passed down to you from somebody that you love, and maybe that person has passed away, and that piece of clothing is what keeps you connected to them. So all of that is living in the work, as well as the fact that we're dancing on nylon ropes, which is its own type of fiber art. And Melecio, the director, describes it as like those are the part of the loom. They lay down the ropes and then the dancers weave in between them. So we are also creating a loom on the building. For this show, we've also worked with a fashion designer based in Santa Cruz, California, whose name is Ibi Bayo. And he is a 9th generation Nigerian textile artist and weaver and sewer and like fiber crafts person. And so he made a lot of our costumes, and then we're also pulling from thrift stores and like reused pieces of clothing that we're repurposing as part of the costume world.
The work that we do educationally, engaging our community, I would like to mention our community partners has been moving in the spirit of which we taught a few workshops with the youth. That was so wonderful. And as well as doing an art project that relates back to Loom. And the product of those art pieces will travel with us to each community we go to with this production. So eventually it's going to be a beautiful quilt that's on the building. So we take a little bit of Atlanta with us as we go.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at aibtv.com. Follow us at Watch AIBTV on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And subscribe to AIB Studios on YouTube.